Hi, everybody. Art Gruenberger here with the people of Puppet Pages. Today, I get to talk to Mark Blashford, a puppeteer based in Chicago. Stick around. I can't wait to have this conversation. We're going to have some fun today. Mark Blashford is a puppeteer based in Chicago and is the founder of Rootstock Puppet Company and is also an associate artist with the Chicago Puppet Studio. Welcome, Mark. How are you, sir?
Hey, it's great to be on, Art. Thanks. You're like the Ira Glass or the Terry Gross of puppetry these days. You're pulling on this great talent and having these great conversations. I'm so thrilled to be part of this. Thanks.
Well, thank you. You know what? It's been so cool to get to talk to you and to Liz and to Alex and Olmsted and to Cactus Head Puppets. And part of what's really cool is you guys are sending me some some videos and stuff. So if I'm not already familiar with your work, I can become familiar. And it is just so cool to see what everyone has done and is currently working on, and it's just great. In fact, speaking of Alex says, "Yay, Mark!" So thank you, Alex, for the comment. Listen, if you have any comments for Mark, any comments for me, feel free to tap them down in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to answer all one of your questions. So, Mark, you and I were talking just before we went live, and it was infuriating because we were talking about Tony Urbano, who was just on Under the Puppet, that wonderful podcast by Grant. And I asked you if you had ever seen the Chicken McNugget commercials from McDonald's that Tony Urbano did those puppets and several other puppets for McDonald's. And you are too young. So what are you, like 14 years old? How old are you, Mark?
I told you, that's the youthful perspective that I add to the Puppet Pages, and I don't. Okay, I'll tell you, I'm almost 30, so that's something.
Does that mean like you're 25 and almost 30, or is that all right? Well, I won't push you to a date, but it's great. It's really thrilling to see. I started when I was about 22, 23 years old, and no one ever told me that I couldn't do it, and no one ever told me that it was a job. I mean, I didn't realize being a puppeteer was a job. How did you fall into puppetry? Like, what got you in?
Well, I was the same. I didn't think that it was actually a viable option, but I did a summer internship at Wolf Trap Center for the Performing Arts in the DC area, and a puppeteer came to the Children's Theater while I was there. His name was Matthias Kufta, German puppeteer, and I was transfixed. I had no idea. I kind of knew the behind the scenes, so I knew what he was getting paid, and and he was there for a whole week, and I knew his travel details, and I just got obsessed with the idea that this is a path for someone to take. And actually, I ended up approaching him after his performance, one of his third or fourth performances. He was there all week, and I said, "Hey, I got to talk to you about how you're doing this." And I ended up going, I followed him to his hotel, met in the gazebo outside of some Best Western in the middle of the Four Corners, whatever it was. I don't know, I can't remember, Reston or something in DC. And he sat me down and explained to me that he's been doing it for 30 years and that he raised a family and that he had a workshop separate from his house. And I was hooked. I ended up touring with him for 2 weeks in Germany, and that was it. I finished up my undergrad and kind of futzed around and ended up. But then by that time, I had been bit by the bug, and I did a show the next year and enrolled at UConn 2 years after that.
Wow, that's the fast track, though, isn't it? I mean, to be able to go and really sit in on a 2-week tour in another country. I mean, like, all of that is spectacular, but to get sort of baptized that quickly into it. And so then how did you find UConn? Because it took me, like, I was working as a puppeteer for years before I even knew that UConn was a thing. I was so sheltered from the puppet community for my first several years of performing. How did you land into UConn?
Oh, well, Actually, I know the minute that I found out about UConn, and yeah, wow, this is just hitting me now. I was in Nashville. I took a trip with one of my buddies. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We were driving from Pennsylvania to Mississippi to visit his brother for the New Year's Day. And I was in Nashville, and we were sitting at a booth at a restaurant around the corner from the Grand Ole Opry. Actually, we were going to go to see that, and I was I was on a laptop looking at searching the internet, scouring the internet for anything related to puppetry at all, and I saw, oh, Yukon, huh, Alaska. They got puppetry in Alaska. That's really interesting. Oh no, oh, Connecticut.
There's a Yukon in Connecticut too. That's so weird.
Yeah, where's the gold? The gold were the maple trees, I think. And anyway, I found out about them that day, and then it took me another year. I thought about it, and like a year to the day from finding out about them, I applied.
Now, you have to have some skill to get into UConn, especially into their MFA program. And so, did you already have some some construction skills, some artistic skills? Like, what were you bringing to the table already that you were able to then bring into puppetry?
This was after I did that stint with a German puppeteer, and I built a show that it's really embarrassing. I built a show that was basically a carbon copy of his show. It had like some twists, which were a result of my inabilities. There was some tech that I didn't really understand, but I created. It was The Wolf and the Seven Kid Goats, and I built this show basically from memory and from pictures that I had taken when I toured with them. I mean, anyway. It was a fine show, but I'll never do it again. But
Puppet Confessions with Mark Blashford.
Yeah, you are Terry Gross. Anyway, I
did the same thing. I worked with Richard Bay for years, and he had a version of Little Red Riding Hood, and I was, I did the show and I did it my way, but it was Richard's show. I mean, it was definitely Richard's show.
Yeah, I'll take you a step further. There's the wolf is such a central character of this show, and I caught myself in a performance that I did in undergrad saying "wolf," like the wolf.
So you're not only stolen the man's show, but now you're mocking his accent. Well done, Mark.
No, I love the way that he said it. I wanted to do his show. I really just wanted his show.
Nice.
I ended up showing those puppets to Bart, and that was enough to con myself into the program, I guess. I don't know.
Perfect. Now, I'm going to show a few pictures because I had not been familiar. Let me see here if I can share my screen after I do this. Here we go. So walk me through this a little bit. So I haven't seen a lot of wood carving out of UConn students. Is it a thing that they're doing a lot of, or did you pick this up in other places?
Yeah, we took part of a class in the materials and techniques class. We do subtractive and additive sculpture, and this is part of the subtractive sculpture bit. Actually, this is one of the puppets that I built for my MFA. But anyway, yeah, just a couple weeks. I ended up learning how to carve and really understanding the tools and makeup of carving by going to the puppet. Oh my goodness, Puppets in Prague, the Puppets in Prague workshop. I learned there, and then there's a brilliant Greek carver in Massachusetts that I took some classes with, and since then it's been sort of I pick up what I can when I can. But I really fell in love with there's more of that show of I fell in love with natural materials, the idea that they're renewable, and that they kind of come with a little bit of character already imbued in them. and that's what drew me to wood carving. I keep looking over here because I'm actually, look, this is my carving bench. Can I do this? Is
Yeah,
this okay?
please. Hold on. Let me. I'll make it bigger so we can actually see it. Look at this.
So
I
yeah,
was trying to just to figure out how to describe the puppets of the shows that I've seen of yours, and like it's not raw, but it's just, and it's not unfinished either. It's just not painted, and so the character of the wood comes through so nicely in the puppets that you're using. Especially I in watching Jack and Jill. Oh gosh, this is just fun. Look at that. That is incredible. Is that for a show you've got coming, or are you just building to play?
it's a little preview of a show that's coming.
Nice.
Look at
Nice.
that exclusive look.
That's awesome. So I'm going to show back. I'm going to go back to this to the picture of your stage here, and so this is from Jack and Jill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the name? It's not Jack and Jill. There's like a more to the name, isn't there? Jack and Jill.
Yeah. So it started as Jack and Jill, and then I moved to Chicago, and I needed to really place it. So now it's Jack and Jill Appalachian Heroes, which really puts the twist on it, and clues people in a little bit to what's in store for them. That's right around the corner from my house. There's a toy store, and it's called Play, and in Logan Square here. And this was the first show that I did when I moved to Chicago. I just went in this store and started asking about doing puppetry, and they thought that I was asking for a job, but I actually just wanted to perform. Anyway, we worked it into a deal where I performed outside of their store.
Nice, nice. And this is just sort of a close up of that same stage, right?
Yeah, yeah,
and all of the different characters. So now you've got Jack, and Jill is the donkey in the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just got to watch a video that you sent me. I watched this just a couple of hours ago, and I just enjoyed it so much. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration of the show, and then let's talk a little bit about the design as well.
Sure. The inspiration came from growing up in central Pennsylvania. I have family members from all over the state, but especially in western PA, where there's the coal industry is pretty strong, the steel industry very strong until very recently, and my family had been part of that for generations. We've been here for a while. And anyway, so this kind of family history has been kicking around in the back of my storytelling, and so when it came time to make my next show, I knew that I wanted to imbue it with that personal element, and so I took a trip to Western PA and West Virginia, and I looked at the coal mining industry, and then I was going to do a kind of a play on St. George and the Dragon. I mean, if I'm going off too much here, let me know. But I knew that I wanted to, I didn't like the idea of doing a show that features kind of a helpless heroine character. I thought that there's a better way to tell a story that involves like a strong female lead, a strong male lead, and this emphasis on community. So that's kind of where Jack and Jill came in. And so I set Jack and Jill in a coal mining town, and the rest is history. And I shouldn't tell you very much more because you got to go see it.
You do. And now, so you were performing this live, and then, March 13th comes around, and the entire world shuts down, and live performance is no longer around. And so, what was that day like for you? What was going on for you?
This is a dark day, right? I was working on a production for an opera house in Milwaukee, actually, a production of Candide, and it was like the idea of rolling blackouts, so like rolling closures, and suddenly we knew that the Lincoln Center was closing and the Met was closing, and well, of course, then the Light Opera House is closing. So that project is done, and then I had the whole summer booked, like all of us did, gigging puppeteers, and that was the same way. It was like, I'm sure you can relate. It was like rolling closures of June was gone, and then July was gone, August was gone. and I was going to tour Jack and Jill one more summer at least, and it wasn't going to happen. But Liz contacted me like not very long after that, maybe like March 20th or something,
And she was on top of it, wasn't she?
What?
I mean, Liz
Guardian
Joyce
Angel.
of Goat on a Boat and a Couple of Puppets, she contacted me probably right around the same time. And she was just like, well, let's get to work. How are we going to make this work? And man, oh man, that was inspiring to me, right? And gave me hope when I really needed it. I was the same for you, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was like getting hit. It was like Newton getting hit with an apple. Like, oh, wake up! There's more. There's more to do, and there's a way forward. And ended up doing Jack and Jill in my living room, and it worked really really well, because the show, I'm exposed. I'm in front of the audience. It's highly participatory, and so inviting a virtual audience into my home kind of it made sense, and it worked for this show.
You have a lot of in the live version of Jack and Jill. You have a lot of call and response, a lot in the songs. You ask questions directly to your audience. You play off of what your audience is doing, and you clearly are really paying attention to where they are with you in the story. How is that different for you when you're performing for the camera lens instead of performing for a live audience?
It's like right there, right? Well, I have to say I'm getting better at checking in with the Zoom format, with the streaming format, and having it helps to have faces. It helps to have a little pre-show talk about showing our love with our hands. Luckily, my brother lives with me, and he ends up filming often. And he's as the cameraman, it's also his job to do the responses. Really helped a lot as well.
Did he realize that before you did the first show, or was that just like you'd better do this?
Well, it's just going to be silent if you don't.
Awkward.
Awkward. No, but I'm getting used to it, and I think there are a lot of opportunities to show appreciation, engagement through virtual shows.
Yeah.
But certainly, yeah, it was definitely the first time it was a change to just deliver everything to this little dot. All the puppeteers I've talked to, they really relate to that.
And how is it? Did you have to? I don't want to give the show away. Can I talk about the transformation of the stage without giving the show away? Is that all right? Okay, good. So you've got that great rectangular stage, like raw wood, looks amazing, raw puppets, and then all of a sudden you take a couple of planks off the front of it, and these great mountainy shaped sides come off and then go down to the side, and you create this incredible mountain. Perfect for your location, right? And now you've got this entire mountain that is both the city or the town, or what is it? Our city? Is that or our town?
This town.
This town, right? Yeah. You've got this town, and now you've got this town, and now you've got this great mountain to play off of. How is that working on camera? Are you back far enough to show all of that, or is your cameraman being able to zoom in and then zoom out to show that transformation? How is that working in the online stuff?
That's a really good question, and yeah. It's suddenly we found ourselves using these camera terms like wide angle or close up. I wish I had a 2-shot. I only have one camera, but we have worked it out that I know in my living room where I have to put the stage so that if Turner goes to the very corner diagonal from my stage, we can get most of it. But the cool thing about doing the virtual version is it's way, it's so close. And in some ways, I think people should watch it live and then they should watch the virtual version, because the virtual version gives you these like close-ups. I'd run around the set a lot and the camera can follow me. And I think that has like a dynamic quality that I almost wish I could find a way to replicate in person when everything sort of settles down. So yes, it's hard to see the whole set all at once. There's like one angle that it works, and we do take advantage of that. But then we also get to do these like wild first person perspective things, which I'm really a fan of too.
Yeah, I was talking to a magician friend who's in the he's a gigging artist like us, and he was talking about, and he said this one thing that was just so helpful for me to hear. He said the great thing about live streaming, and because I'm always like, oh, I miss hearing the audience, I miss this, and so he's looking at all these great positive things. He said one of the best things is that everyone has a front row seat, which is a really interesting thing, because when I was watching the video of your show, I had the camera's view, which was sort of far back, and it was the audience's view. But to know that you could be so much more intimate in a video setting with Jack and Jill specifically, that's really, really a cool thing to be able to do, and then to play with that, because the dynamics are completely different. And it's sort of like once you get over the hump of like, how are we going to put this on camera, then you get to start to play. And I can't wait to see a live stream version of the show. I saw a recording of a live performance of the show, but I can't wait. And if you guys are interested in checking out Jack and Jill or any of Mark's offerings, you can visit Puppet Pages. He's got a whole page there on Puppet Pages with the various offerings. And I'm going to show just a little news story that you shared with me, and it's going to talk about some of the actual live performances that you are doing. All right, so I'm going to show that, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay.
Oh, good.
Puppet Studio under the Chicago Puppet Theater Festival.
Blashford saw so many deliveries being made during quarantine that it gave him an idea.
I want to be Grubhub, but for puppets. If our audiences can't come to me, what if you could send me to audiences and keep them small, and I could perform at a good distance and still do what I love to do, which is perform for people live.
Give me a home where the buffalo roam.
He came up with doorstep marionettes, portable puppetry.
It's a wonderful form. It's a great storytelling technique, delivering narrative, often without words, married to music.
Home, home on the range.
He aims to please all ages.
It's not just for kids. I do a lot of birthdays, and many of those are for 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. I'm doing an 85-year-old's birthday party, a 90-year-old's birthday party. It's a great thing to send if you don't want to send something that someone's going to throw away, or if you don't know if they like peanuts or can eat them or not or something. Send a puppet.
He is also a wood carver, and he makes his entire cast of characters.
I went to school for puppetry. I have an MFA in puppetry. I've studied in Prague and in Germany and in Iceland with different masters.
His original inspiration came from a star on his local PBS station.
Please won't you be my neighbor? My whole family's from Pittsburgh, so we're well acquainted with the WQED studios downtown and Mr. Rogers, and I grew up watching him. He's a huge influence of mine. In fact, I wanted to grow up to be a children's television show host.
We asked his audience for a critical appraisal.
The puppets, they just had so much emotion, and they looked so real. And then the stories were so creative. I think it was really beautiful and amazing.
It was to send somebody a puppet show to like give them a bit of happiness during this tough time. And I thought it was really fun.
The whole idea of this is just to spread joy, to bring theater to people, especially people that love theater and can't go to it right now, and to promote puppetry across the city.
For Chicago Tonight, this is Mark Vitale.
That's just so much fun. I mean,
They did a good job, didn't they?
yeah, absolutely. They did. They really showed that describes it so well. So it's just a short little puppet show that you are bringing to people's houses and performing on their doorsteps. How many of these have you done since we've gone into quarantine?
I've done. I just counted it up. and this morning was my 77th.
You've got to be kidding me. That is incredible. What a neat way to, to maintain social distancing, but also, I mean, I don't think I can say it better than the little girl at the end said it. It's like, like people need this sort of thing more now than ever before. And how cool to get them out of their house and get them to see something that they couldn't see on a screen, or and have sort of a live interaction. How much are you interacting? So you do your show, you come, you set up, you do your show, and then are you just off to the next one, or do you get to chat? Do you get to interact? What's the routine like for you?
That's the best part. I get just as excited with the next show as I am with the last show, because every audience is different. Every little interaction is different. And we always have a little moment after the show. Usually before the show, it's, especially if it's a surprise, there's this tension in the air that I love, but for different reasons. I get to break it. But then when it's over, it's not very long. I put away my puppet, we take a picture, but those little moments are the best part, because they'll say something like, if it's an older audience member, they might bring up a puppet show that came to town a few years ago, or there's a brilliant puppet theater downtown called the Kungsholm. It was a dinner theater downtown, the Kungsholm Marionettes, and some of the older audience members remember those days, and they'll talk about how they wish that there were string puppets and marionettes for kids these days. And I love, my first question is always with a little kid is, have you ever seen a string puppet before? And often if they're under 10, it's a 50-50. Even though like Pinocchio's out there, they don't really make the connection. I don't know. But, and I get to be the person that introduces them, and that that's the best part.
That's killer. That's really great. So you're doing you're doing a shorter show, which I don't know, like every time I think about developing a new show, I know that the clients' libraries, I think you have similar clients, libraries, schools, those museums, those sorts of clients want, sort of a full-length show, something between like 30 and 45 minutes when all is said and done. And so it must be really cool to have the freedom to sort of create maybe something that you don't want to develop into a full piece, but something that you want to, develop into, what is it, like 5 or 10 minutes? Is that length of the show is approximately? Or
it's about 5 minutes, and it's a new form for me too. I mean, it feels like a slam. It's kind of started as a slam piece, and it feels like a slam piece, and it does offer you a lot of freedom, and actually, it turns out when I first started, I thought they're not gonna want to pay for this, because it's just so ephemeral. It's like it just happens and then it's done. But people only want that. They want a little moment, and then they want you to leave. And
isn't that interesting? It's like that is enough. I mean, and more would be too much. That's so funny.
Yeah, more would be too much.
So are you developing different shows so there's a variety for people to choose, or is that where the skeleton is going to appear? Is that like
mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. No, yes, yeah. I'm building a kind of a harvest themed show, and then there will be future shows. We'll kind of see how long we can ride the wave. I don't know. People are still at home, and that is great. But it's also not great. I mean, I hope that doesn't last much longer, but I do hope that it lasts much longer. I mean, if it lasts into the spring, I'll make a spring show, I guess is what I'm saying. But
I think every puppeteer, every performer is asking those exact questions right now, right? It's like, how much do I invest in continuing to grow this part of my business? And what will the new normal be when we finally get a vaccine? What and how long is that process going to take? Is it, it's a tough question, and it's hard to figure that out.
I'm wondering about that, like in your work, do you think that you'll hold on to some of these shows that are really tailored to virtual offerings? So will you keep a couple of those in in your catalog?
I think so. I think so. I think, and a lot of the puppeteers I've talked with, and maybe you'll do this as well. As I've thought, there are certain shows that we tour up and down the state of California, and it's a big state, and we have to stick to the areas that are most populated, because there are a lot of performance opportunities down in LA County, here in the Bay Area, around Sacramento, and in San Francisco area. That's a big touring area for us, and because there's lots of schools, lots of libraries, and so it's hard for us to get out to the more rural areas of California, and there are plenty of them. But with this format, we can reach those areas.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where we will keep some of what we're doing, during pandemic times. How about you?
I think, well, like this, Doorstep Marionette, I'll keep around as long as people will buy it, or send it. I don't know. I think that's just it's part of my development as I grow my career as a puppeteer, finding my place in the economy. I feel like that's an ongoing journey. It's great to hear. It's been great to hear your take and other puppeteers around the country's take on finding their place. And this is an interesting thing. I'm still not sure if it is a new economy for me, or if it's temporary. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think the mindset that I've just been trying to hold on to is abundance. That there is plenty of money out there. It may not be where I was getting it before, we hit COVID, but there's still plenty out there. And so with that mindset, I can relax a little bit and take a breath, and then take some steps forward, even though I'm not exactly sure what those steps are going to, where those steps are going to take me to. And it just seems like you're doing the same thing and finding success as a result of that. And I think that's great. I hope you keep doing it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Can we take a little look at this clip that you sent me? This is after the transformation for your show, Jack and Jill. And so the audience is going to get to, if you watch in the background, you'll get to see how that very rectangular puppet stage is now in the shape of a mountain with a big giant sitting on the top. But this is, as I was watching you perform this show, I loved it's like you had your finger on the pulse of the audience the entire time, and you also had them in the palm of your hand the entire time. And this little video just really shows a good example of that. So let's take a look at this video here. And then you can talk a little bit about it. It may be self-explanatory.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I couldn't help it.
That is just perfect. That's so funny. I love the boldness of the kid. He's like, listen, I don't want to miss anything, but I gotta pee. I'll be right back. Don't do anything. What was going through your mind as you were sitting there waiting for that moment to it's such courage to sit there and to allow that uncomfortableness to ride until it becomes hysterical. I just love that. What was going through your mind?
Well, there's a couple things. One is like, how brave of this audience member, and that's true investment. I mean, this is to the point where he's going to really address the entire room and ask everyone to wait on his behalf. I mean, that takes courage. I thought that was in one part of my brain, and I tried not to rub it in too much, but I did have to make a comment about it. And then the other thing is, you can't capture on the film, but we had laid out gym mats right in front of the stage, and there were rows of kids on these gym mats, and I looked over at them, and they were all like, "What are you gonna do? He's got to go. You're not gonna keep going, are you?"
They were daring you to keep going. Like, you keep going, and you will be blacklisted from this school from this point forward.
Yeah, they were like, nature calls, and when nature calls, we listen. And I thought, that's a great lesson. I'm just gonna file that away.
The Bill Irwin-esque of this, 30 seconds into waiting was just perfect. I just thought that was just a charming little bit. Thanks for sharing that. Now you're working with Chicago Puppet Studio as well, and that's are they still, like, how much work are they doing in the midst of COVID?
Well, we've pivoted. Right now, we had been working on building. Typically, we'll build puppets for theaters around town, mid-sized theaters. There's a theater downtown called Looking Glass, the Chicago Shakespeare Theater. We'll do things for them. But of course, that's all on ice. So we've moved to they've helped me develop this doorstep show. So I got to give credit to them. But also now we're teaming up with a theater in New York, the Mai Theater in New York, and we're developing a puppet film. And I don't know how much I can speak about it, but suffice to say, we're still building puppets, still taking commissions, but now it's sort of shifted also to filming and virtual, which is exciting.
That's neat. And is it, so are you doing a lot of building, a lot of rehearsing, and how are you coping with, social distancing while you're doing all of that?
Suddenly we went from one studio downtown in the Fine Arts Building to 4 studios around the city. Everyone has turned their house, and luckily I had a workshop happening down here we don't refer to it as the basement. This is the puppet cave. or it's the lower level where I build all my puppets. So now there's a special designated spot for puppet studio work. And there's my work, but it's been good. Chicago is a great town for puppetry for a lot of reasons, but some of the big reasons are we have the Chicago Puppet, the international. Oh my goodness,
Don't mess this up, Mark. Your entire career rests on this.
Oh no, the Chicago International Puppet Theater Festival.
There it is.
Which happens every 2 years here. And Blair Thomas is here. He was an UNMA president a few years ago.
Oh yeah, Blair's a great guy.
Blair's amazing. And then Tom Lee is another great puppet builder and performer from New York that's moved to Chicago. So it's a good scene right now, and I feel really lucky.
There's such a solid theater scene in Chicago. I mean, one has to feed off the other, right? I mean, it's just such a great theater town.
Yeah. Did you hear that? We're gonna feed off of you. And
like a puppet leech.
Right. Didn't you know you could add a puppet to the? I don't care if it's Jane Austen. We'll put a puppet in it.
Yeah, Jane Austen needs puppets. Come on.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Chicago, it's they don't have mild winters in Chicago, right? I mean, I'm from California, and if I can't wear jeans and a hoodie, it's too cold for me. So how are you going to? Do you just sort of like hide down in the puppet cave during the winter and build and get ready for the spring, or is there opportunity to go out and still do like doorstep marionettes? And obviously you can still do live streaming stuff, but how do you cope with the winters?
We'll see. They do get pretty brutal out here, but I've got 2 space heaters, and I have a much. Well, I was in Connecticut for a few years, and I kind of had developed my winter wardrobe then, but I've actually upped it quite a bit here too. And we'll see. I'm willing to go. If you want to have a puppet show on your doorstep in the middle of January, I'll do it. For you, I would do it. Not just for you, Art, but for
all
anyone.
right. All right. I was thinking, gosh, I'm going to move to Chicago now. I've got a reason.
I realized when they said that. I mean, you too. Sure, I'll move.
Oh, thanks.
If I'm ever in Sacramento, you get a show. Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that. Listen, if you want to find out anything about Rootstock Puppet Company and Mark's current lineup for live streaming and in-person stuff, I'm reading it as it's scrolling by here. I realize the audience can read it too, probably. Go to puppetpages.com. You'll be able to contact Mark right through there. Mark, it's been a real thrill to get to talk to you. It's been wonderful to work on Puppet Pages with you and to get to know you and the rest of the crew. Thank you for bringing your youthfulness to Puppet Pages. I don't know what we would do without you. We'd have to do all the heavy lifting ourselves, I guess. If you guys want to watch, if you want to share this video, please share it with other people. If you want people to know about Mark, if you want to watch any of our past interviews, you can check out the Puppet Pages YouTube channel, or you can go to Puppet Pages on Facebook, and all of the videos are there. I think we're taking next week off, and then we'll be back a few weeks after that with Heidi Rugg and Barefoot Puppets. So hope you guys come back. Mark, thanks a lot. I can't wait to see your future work.
Oh, thank you, Art. Likewise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Oh, we've got one comment before we go. It says, thanks, Art and Mark.
Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you, Alex. All right. We'll see y'all later. Thank you.